Punters are losing more than $8,000 a minute just in Queensland alone to gambling. That's forking out a whopping $349 million at casinos, pubs and clubs every month. Even more concerning, leading experts believe that operators are targeting those in high-stress, low-income areas to boost their profits. For more, we're joined this morning by Dr Charles Livingstone from Monash University in Melbourne. Dr Livingstone, these are troubling figures, $8,000 a minute just in Queensland, but you also believe that POKIE operators are targeting specific suburbs.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, we've been doing research now since I've personally been doing it since 2001 in Australia, and there's a very, very strong relationship between socioeconomic stress, i.e. levels of disadvantage and poverty, and the concentration of poker machines in almost all Australian states.
Well, just talk us through, if you wouldn't mind, the gambling hotspots around the country.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Queensland, of course, Logan, where I think the average poker machine's taking more than $70,000 a day. Townsville, Moreton Bay, Ipswich, all those areas on your graphic are places where a lot of people lose a lot of money every day, and largely because there's an enormous number of pokies. In Sydney, for example, you've got the western and southwestern suburbs in particular. A good example is Fairfield, where there's 3,352 machines taking $385 million every year. So that's well over $200,000 per machine. In Melbourne, we've got the western suburbs, particularly areas like Brimbank, and in the southeast we've got Dandenong, again, where individual machines are taking as much as $210,000 a year each. In Hobart, we're looking at Glenorchy, which is in the inner north of Hobart, just north of the city, where there's a really strong concentration of machines and where the average machine is making nearly twice the Tassie average. And in South Australia, Elizabeth and Port Adelaide, where there are huge numbers of machines. So what we're looking at is areas of relative disadvantage, places where people are under a lot of stress, often because of their disadvantage, but also in areas where people, you know, might have a big mortgage, both parents have to work. They're not necessarily poor, but they're under incredible stress. And unfortunately, poker machines have a propensity to target people like that because it's, you know, they have an addictive characteristic about them, similar to narcotic drugs. They affect the same pathways in the brain. So, you know, it's very easy for people to get hooked into these machines when they're under a lot of stress.
Yeah, it certainly is, and they are everywhere. Dr Livingstone, thanks for your time this morning.
You're very welcome.
All right, and if you or someone you know is struggling with a gambling problem, you can always get help from Lifeline. The number to call 13 11 14.